One thing that I wanted to talk to you, Andy, first about was a study that I saw that, and it's near and dear to my heart because I just bought a vehicle, a hybrid Tucson that has all of the bells and whistles in terms of almost letting it drive itself with sensors and keeping on the road. And I think now as that's becoming more and more of something that people are dealing with and having in their cars, even with not necessarily having a car that they buy all the bells and whistles, a lot of these bells and whistles are coming with the standard versions, that the efficacy of those sensors, those cameras, have been, I know sometimes early on in the life cycle of them, there's been some questions about them. And now as they're getting better, there's still some questions about how effective they are in certain conditions. And one of the conditions we're seeing is problems with the inclement weather and especially rain on those sensors. So it kind of leads people to maybe want to think a little bit more carefully about relying too much on those when the weather's not so nice.
Yeah, at AAA, we are very well aware that a lot of these newer cars coming out are equipped with all sorts of really great sounding safety features like automatic emergency braking and lane keeping assistance. But we also are aware that when manufacturers test these vehicles, it's often on a closed course on a sunny day. And so, of course, everything is going to work great. So we thought, what happens in a real world situation like rain? Do these cameras, do these sensors still see the road, see the surrounding environment around you? Are they able to detect the lane markers in the rain? So that's what we set out to do. And unfortunately, we found that in a good steady rain, these systems do not always see what's in front of you, and they don't work as advertised. So, for instance, when it comes to the emergency braking system, at the 25-mile speed, the system failed 17% of the time, and our test vehicle collided with a stop obstacle. At 35 miles an hour, the system failed 33% of the time. So you can see it already gone up. Now that's as high as we were able to test it at, but you can imagine that if it failed 33% of the time at 35, what would happen if you're going 65 miles an hour? You could be easily failing in the 70% of the time. So this is all a reminder to folks that when you've got these fancy systems on your cars, it's no excuse for not still paying attention. And if it starts to rain, realize then your car's ability to sort of see the surrounding environment around you, other cars, vehicles, lane markers, that is degraded. And that's harder for the vehicle to see. So that's where your instincts and your knowledge have to kind of take over.
The other thing that I've noticed with that in my vehicle is a lot has to do with the way the roads are marked. Now, I've been noticing here where we live in central Pennsylvania, they've been starting to take more pains about actually marking out exits. Let me say it this way. The way they used to do it is the lane marking wasn't as clear where the exit was and where the road was joining that exit. And sometimes I know my car would veer a little bit to the right here if I was not paying attention. But I've also been seeing that highway departments, at least in Pennsylvania, are doing better where they're actually putting those dotted lines all the way to the beginning of the exit so that there's something for the car to sense. Is that something in your research, or do we know, is that kind of a talking point among highway systems to start doing that?
Well, I'm glad they're doing that in Pennsylvania because I'm down here in just outside D.C. in Virginia. And we just have so much road construction that I notice my car really has a hard time because they're constantly shifting the lanes due to construction. So they'll like shave down some of the lane markers and install new ones. But there's enough of the old lane markers that it's definitely confusing my car. And my car is not quite sure, like, well, which lane markers are the real lane markers? And, just in our tests, we showed that for the lane keeping assistance, that failed in the rain almost 70% of the time.
Wow.
So you could see that, so you could see that these systems, but the branding and marketing for these systems is such that when you buy them, you sort of assume, what's the problem? These safety features are going to work. And that's when it's incumbent upon all of us to remind folks they don't work perfectly all the time. And particularly in the rain, that's when you still have the best computer in the car, which is the one between your ears.
To listen to the full episode, just click the links below. And never miss a podcast by subscribing to Everything Under the Sun on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. New episodes every Friday.